When you mention you're going to the Rex in Redondo today, you're pretty much talking about the upscale restaurant. But half a century ago, it would have been more about mobsters and gambling, famous authors, bootlegging. It's the story of Redondo Beach and a mobster today on PCZ TV.
PCZ TV.
Did you know that the city of Redondo hosted a casino in the late 20s? And it soon attracted professional gamblers as well as mobsters. It was big time gambling with big time mobsters and big time shooting incidents all around the Depression. Chip games, bingo parlors, they were run in full view of the law between 36 and 40. But this isn't that story. Because nowadays, when you picture mobsters and gambling, you picture Las Vegas.
Viva Las Vegas!
Now, one of the pioneering casinos of Las Vegas was called the Meadows, established in part by Tony Cornero. And therein is the connection to Redondo history that we'll focus on today. Okay, wait. Tony who? Who is Tony Cornero, and how exactly is he connected to Redondo? Because I don't recall seeing a street or a park or a city building named after him. And you won't. Because Tony was, shall we say, a shady character. He was a brash bootlegger turned gaming kingpin who wore a white Stetson, lived in Beverly Hills, and held court at the Trocadero nightclub. Now, Tony history. Tony was born in Italy's Piedmont region. His real name was Antonio Strala. And when he changed it to Cornero is uncertain, but we do know he opened the Meadows Casino and Hotel, one of the first 7 licensed casinos in the Las Vegas area. In fact, it's considered one of the earliest resorts in Vegas, 10 years before El Rancho Vegas and 15 years ahead of the Flamingo. Now, the Meadows was a success. However, success brought unwanted attention. Charles Lucky Luciano, boss of the New York Luciano crime family, and one of his associates, Meyer Lansky, demanded a percentage of the gaming profits.
Like say he don't feel the arm is played fair by him, he may start breaking things, Colonel.
Look, what is all this about?
How many men you got here, Colonel?
7,000 infantry, 600 artillery, and 2 divisions of paratroops.
Paratroops, Dino? Oh, be a shame if someone was to set fire to them.
Set fire to them?
Fires happen, Colonel. Things burn.
Look, what is all this about?
Now, Tony refused to be extorted, and the Meadows was eventually burned down. So he sold his Vegas interests and moved back to L.A.
And folks said, Jed, move away from there. Said, California is the place you ought to be. So they loaded up the truck and they moved to Beverly Hills, that is. Swimming pools, movie stars. The Beverly Hillbilly.
The advent of Prohibition created an opportunity that he took advantage of. You know, people need their booze, and Tony provided it. He set up a large-scale bootlegging operation in Culver City. In the 1920s, saw him arrested multiple times for violating the National Prohibition Act. So by the time he was let out, he tried a different tact. His new idea was a floating casino. Now, this was an ingenious way to circumvent the state gambling laws. He ran the Rex, and by anchoring just off the 3-mile limit, he was outside of California waters and away from the legal jurisdiction. He spent $200,000 transforming a 300-foot-long windjammer into a casino. And he dropped anchor first off Santa Monica. Now the Rex boasted 150 slot machines, a 250-foot bar, and ladies in form-fitting dresses to lure in customers. It also boasted something sinister on the off-limits top deck. machine guns. 3 shifts of machine gunners manned them every minute of the day. But Tony was quite the marketer. The Rex's many game offerings and the promotion added up to innovation because he made gambling appealing to the middle class. Before this, gambling was either the purview of the very wealthy or the very poor. It was either in luxury surroundings or in some kind of snake pit. Cornero appealed to the middle class. For any of his failings, he was a real entrepreneur. Now, that's not to say that the rich of the famous of the day didn't patronize the establishment. Errol Flynn, Cesar Romero, and other Hollywood types stopped by to gamble. For a fare of 25 cents, a water taxi would transport a visitor to the gambling ship, which, as I said, operated just off the 3-mile limit. And it worked. The Rex welcomed 1 million plus patrons in its first year. Meanwhile, the authorities were trying to figure out how to stop it. City Attorney Burren Fitz set out to choke off the water taxi service operating from Santa Monica. Tony quickly checked this move by towing the Rex to a spot off Redondo Beach in the summer of '38. You know who also went down to Redondo? Or Torres Beach? Remember we talked about Cesar Romero? Well, or should I say, the Joker. To see where Caesar filmed this episode of Batman, watch this video. Meanwhile, back to gambling. The state attorney general, Earl Warren, later California governor, later Supreme Court justice, hit Tony and the other gambling boat operations with a public nuisance charge. And that prompted the afternoon raid in 1939, the quote-unquote Battle of Santa Monica. Now, the crew of the Rex initially fought off the police by using water cannons, but after 10 days, they surrendered. The legal question remained how to permanently shut down the operation, but what exactly was the law? So it came down to a disagreement between how you draw the line for 3 miles. The district attorney argued that the coastline should be drawn across the bay itself so that the Rex would have to go even farther out where the heavy waters would set the roulette wheels off kilter and make the gamblers seasick. And in 1939, the California State Supreme Court sided with the district attorney. So as a result, the California's jurisdiction was essentially extended about 15 miles from the shore of Santa Monica. And that was the beginning of the end of the gaming ships. Now, on a side note, in an attempt to turn public opinion against Tony, Warren told the press that the admiral planned to fly the Japanese war flag on the Rex, basically a charge of treason. The claim foreshadowed a profound stain on Warren's reputation. During World War II, Warren would call the Japanese in California the Achilles heel of the entire civilian defense effort and would endorse them being held in internment camps. And to see the local impact, please watch these videos. Now, after World War II, Tony decided to open another gambling ship, the SS Lux, in 1946, just off Long Beach. No, not that Lux, but needless to say, the government officials were less than happy and was shut down after approximately a month. Now, the final nail in the gambling ship was in April of 1948 when President Truman signed an act prohibiting the operation of any gambling ships in U.S. territorial waters. So what's a man like Tony to do? Well, he took his proven gambling formula, the one where he appeals to the middle class, and he went back to Vegas. He helped create the modern Strip, conceiving of the Stardust Hotel, a $10 million resort with over 1,000 rooms and an aura of respectability, burnished by A-list patrons including the Rat Pack. Now, July of 1955, while at the casino, shooting dice and sipping a 7 and 7, Tony collapsed at the table. The 55-year-old man was declared dead, felled by a heart attack.
But wait! There's more!
But that wasn't the end of the Rex or of Tony, actually. Because in 1940, Raymond Chandler's Farewell My Lovely, including what some character scholars say is a character modeled after Tony, and including gambling boats. And in the 1943 film Mr. Lucky, Cary Grant portrayed Joe the Greek Adams, a character loosely based on Tony. And you're probably thinking, oh, okay, this is crazy. Only in the 30s would you get gambling in the South Bay. But Tony still has a legacy that continues today. You see, Gardena has a history of gambling that started in that era. And no surprise, one of Gardena's card room operators was none other than Tony Cornero. However, unlike the gambling ships, these casinos survived all the crackdowns, and for a while, the Gardena card houses were the only legal gambling in LA County. Now, these card clubs continue into today. The Hustler, opened by Larry Flint in 2000, continues, and the renamed Lucky Lady Casino, also owned by Larry Flint, are the last of the card rooms in Gardena. So, gambling in Redondo, connections to Hollywood, Vegas, mobsters, the Supreme Court. Who knew? If you've been watching this far, I thank you.
Bye!